And welcome back to another episode of Dogs on the Couch. Where everybody's allowed to have an opinion. It does not matter if you played the game you were watching. So you're allowed to have an opinion as well. Let's get right into it. This is going to be part one of what I call why Kevin Stefanski not a good head coach. Because we hear that quite often, through different media outlets, or your Dan Orlovsky's, the Mary Kay Cabotts, the Jason Lloyds, those kinds of people. You hear them. Oh, well, I still think Kevin's a good coach. Well, I think Kevin's a good coach. Well, I think Kevin's a good coach. Well, I think Kevin's a good coach. Ultimately, I still think Kevin's a good coach. Even though he doesn't win any games, I think Kevin's a good coach. Okay. What I would like to do in this part one is focus more on statistical reasons why Kevin Stefanski isn't a good head coach. And then in part two, I'll do more like the intangibles, the personals, if you will, as far as why he's not a good head coach. I may have a little bit of overlapping in between, both parts, so forgive me. I may give, a statistical part and a personal part, and I may give a personal part here in the statistics. But for the most part, I want to try to focus on just stats, if you will, as far as why I don't believe Kevin Stefanski is a good head coach. Could he be a coordinator or something like that? Possibly. Yep. But as far as head coach, right now, maybe he could develop into a little bit better of a head coach. But as far as just a head coach right now, I don't think he's any good. And let's just go through, some of the statistical reasons why I don't want to have, I don't really want to make the video too long. Because like I say, I'm going to end up doing a second part to it as well. So we'll start with penalties. Okay. Since Kevin has took over as the head coach in 2020, we've either been 11th, 11th, 11th or worse. Okay, so what I mean by that is this: in the year 2020, we finished 8th in the league in total penalties. In the year 2021, we finished 7th in the league in total penalties. In 2022, we were 11th in the league in total penalties. In 2023, we were 2nd in the league in penalties. In 2024, we were 6th in the league in penalties. And then in 2025, at the time that I was looking this up, which was about a week ago, so this would have been prior to the Pittsburgh game. So clearly, after the Pittsburgh game, the numbers might have changed a bit. We're 16th. At the time that I had looked it up, we were 16th at 98 penalties. But 106, if we get to 106, that'll crack the top 10. And I'm pretty sure we'll probably get there before the season's end. We'll take a look though. But as far as for all of the completed seasons that we have, you're basically top 10 in penalties every year. That's coaching. Yeah, that's coaching. Because again, one of the most penalized players that we used to have is Jedrick Wills. And it took, I don't know how long for Kevin to decide to stop playing Jedrick Wills. And mind you, I don't know what's happened with Jedrick Wills ever since he got took out the lineup for the Browns. I don't know. He's disappeared. So the fact that you kept trotting that guy out there, you know what I'm saying? And again, the fact that somehow your team is basically top 10 in penalties every year leads me to believe that there's no discipline behind these penalties. That it's just one of those things like, but we'll get better. but then you're not really doing anything to get better about that. You know what I mean? And then it's not one specific set of penalties. It's basically any kind of penalty that you could think of: pre-snap, post-snap, holding, uh, legal hands to the face, illegal shift, illegal ineligible man downfield. I mean, it's just the penalties they're endless. Like you hit basically every penalty that's in the book, you'll get it. Again, from my perspective, that's coaching. Let's talk about turnovers. Turnovers is another big one for me. Okay, now he started out great. 2020, we were 28th overall. So 28 out of 32, we were 28th in turnovers. Really, really, really great job there. Okay, that was when we had Baker. All right, and we was 28th in interceptions. So we weren't really throwing interceptions and weren't really turning the ball over. Of course, Nick Chubb, you know what I'm saying? Not really going to be fumbling too much. 2020, great year, Stefanski. Way to go. 2021, get a little dicey. 19th. Okay? It was 19th in turnovers in 2021. So we went from 28th to 19th. Okay? 18th in interceptions, mind you. Okay? So we've gotten exponentially worse from 2020 to 2021. Okay? We went from bottom to around middle of the pack as far as turnovers is concerned, as well as specifically interceptions. All right. So we move on to 2022. 23rd. Okay. We 23rd in the league in turnovers overall. Okay. 22nd in the league in interceptions. Okay. So mid, I should say top to mid. All right. Is kind of where you at. 2022 wasn't that bad. Okay. 2021 was much worse. So you kind of got the turnovers a little bit under control in 2022. But it still wasn't back to where you originally started in 2020, which was absolutely amazing. Okay. So you took maybe one step back in that direction when you needed to take probably 4 steps back in that direction. All right. Here's where it gets ugly. 2023. First, you led the league in turnovers in 2023. First. You're also first in interceptions in 2023. Okay? So, first in overall turnovers and first in interceptions, fourth in fumbles. But the most important for me, first in overall turnovers and first in interceptions. That's a tad alarming. Okay? And that's something that we can't blame on Deshaun Watson because he barely played enough games to be throwing that many interceptions. So these interceptions are coming with Kevin and other quarterbacks that aren't named Deshaun Watson. Okay? So as bad as we want to talk about how Deshaun Watson is, remember, Deshaun Watson hasn't played that many games to be responsible for all these interceptions. These are the other quarterbacks that are not named Deshaun Watson and running Kevin Stefanski's system that's throwing these interceptions like this. Okay? Terrible in 2023. Okay? So you've gone from absolutely wonderful in 2020 to, what are we doing in 2021 to 2022? Okay, well, maybe we're going back in the right direction. 2023, oh my God, what is this? Then we have 2024. Another, oh my God, what is this? You're second in total turnovers and first again in interceptions. Sixth in fumbles, but I want to focus on second in total turnovers and first in interceptions. So in back-to-back seasons, you was first in total turnovers and first in interceptions, then second in total turnovers and first in interceptions. So the past 2 seasons prior to 2025, you've Well, you've led the league in interceptions, and then you was first in overall turnovers one year, and then second in overall turnovers the other year. So in back-to-back years, you've led the league in interceptions. Like your offense, whatever your offense is, it has led the league in interceptions. And we can't just point and say, well, no, it's this quarterback, because you done been through a bunch of different quarterbacks. And then the one thing that they all have in common is they all look mid and they all throw picks. All of them. It don't matter who it is. You even brought back Joe Flacco for 2025 to try to recreate whatever magic you had. And it was like, that was luck, but whatever. You even brought Flacco back to try to recreate that. So again, if we blaming, if we blaming the 2023 or 2024, if we blaming any of that on Deshaun Watson, it's very hard for us to do that because the interceptions haven't gone anywhere. They didn't go anywhere. So Deshaun Watson's play ain't responsible for the turnovers, because all the other quarterbacks been turning the ball over too. Then you come to 2025, you fourth in interceptions, seventh overall in overall turnovers, seventh in overall turnovers, fourth in interceptions. So my thing is this: it's something about your offense that seems like, especially for the last 3 years, it's something about your offense that's generating turnovers and, more importantly, interceptions. There's something about your offense that, because my thing is this: as much as I loved my offense, if I've gone through 3 years and then a bunch of different players, eventually I'm going to take a look at my scheme and be like, well, maybe it's not just, well, I need the right players to run this scheme. Maybe something's wrong with my scheme, because I've had a bunch of different players running it and I'm still getting turnovers and interceptions. Still. So maybe there's something about my concepts or whatever, you know what I'm saying? Maybe there's something about that I need to change. Maybe I need to open up some more safety valves or create more easy throws, different things like that. Maybe I don't need to have 5 different reads on a play. Maybe I can just stick with 2 or 3 reads, something along those lines. But for your offense to be generating all of these turnovers, mainly interceptions, that's absolutely ridiculous for you to be, because you're supposed to be the offensive mind. You're supposed to be the offensive guru. You're supposed to be a Kyle Shanahan, a Sean McVay, a Kevin O'Connell, Andy Reid. You know what I'm saying? Like these people these offensive guru-minded people. You're supposed to be one of them, I thought. But for some reason, this offense that you drawing up, that you scheming up, it leads to a lot of interceptions by a lot of different quarterbacks. Like it's not even like it's just because of one specific quarterback and he bad and he can't, like, if it was Jameis Winston, Jameis Winston just throws interceptions. That's what he does. Okay, well, so was Flacco. Flacco was throwing them picks. Everybody, all the quarterbacks been throwing them picks. Jacoby Brissett was throwing them picks. Bailey Zappi was throwing them picks. Everybody that's played quarterback for the Browns has been throwing them picks. Like it's been happening. The only one that kind of lucked out a little bit was Dylan Gabriel. And that's because a lot of his picks was dropped. The defenders was dropping them. But he was throwing picks too. So something about your offense that's generating these what they call them turnover-worthy plays. It's something about your offense that seems to be generating this, because it's been the same thing. No matter who the quarterback is, no matter who the pass catchers are. It's kind of been the same. It's like it's kind of been generating the exact same, results, if you will, which is a lot of turnovers and a lot of interceptions. It's hard to win football games like that. And I think that's maybe why throughout this 2025 year, he was putting so much on, not turn the ball over, play clean football, to the point where you had Dylan Gabriel scared to throw the ball past 5 yards because he didn't want to throw no interception. Because I believe you might have been aware that your offense is just generating these turnovers like this. Which is going to lead me to another point, but I'm going to get to that in a minute. Now, outside of the turnovers, which are a huge issue, it's hard to win games when you're not winning the turnover battle. I don't understand how you're going to win games. You don't win the turnover battle. Let's talk about continuity, because that was one of the big reasons for Kevin being here for the 6 years that he's been here. Oh, well, you don't want to just hire and fire guys. You the Browns will do that all the time, and it's never worked. However, they fail to mention that none of the guys that have ever been fired by the Browns have gone to be a head coach somewhere else and done good. None of them. So I can't say that you made a mistake by firing Mike Pettin or Rob Trubisky or any of these other guys. I can't say you made a mistake by firing them because it ain't like they went nowhere else and did good. So what good would it have done to keep them around? They didn't do good nowhere else. So why would we think that they would have been good here if we just keep them, then they'll be better? It's like, no, if they trash, get them out of here. It is what it is. So remember, it's the continuity. That's what we wanted to keep Kevin for. We can't just hurry up and fire him. We got to let him, give him time. Blah, 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 blah. Here's the problem with that argument now. Kevin Stefanski is the 9th longest tenured head coach in the league. There are only 8 head coaches that have had their job. Now, it's 32 teams, mind you. Out of all 32, there are only 8 head coaches that have been at their team as the head coach longer than Kevin Stefanski. Only 8 coaches. Who are those 8 coaches, you may ask? Well, let's take a look here. I honestly think that I did them in order too, if I'm not mistaken. So, and if I am misquoting, then forgive me. But I do think I put them in order. But even if they're not in order, they're all the 8 coaches, that's been there longer than him. So you got Zach Taylor, all right. People don't really like Zach Taylor, too much. They don't really think he's just this super great head coach. But here are the quick numbers. What I feel like the most important thing is, as far as a head coach, as far as head coaching, resumes and all that type of stuff is concerned. Zach Taylor, his overall record, 51, 62, and 1. His postseason record, 5-2, and he has a Super Bowl appearance on his jacket. Okay, so again, his record, 51, 62, and 1. His postseason record is 5-2, and he has a Super Bowl appearance on his jacket. Okay. At 7. Next at 7, we got Matt LaFleur. His record, 67-33. So I think we can clearly see with a record of 67-33. I think we can see why he has his job so long. Kyle Shanahan, record 81-66. Playoff record 8-4. Also, Super Bowl appearance. Okay, I could see why he has his job so long. Sean McVay, record 91-56. Playoff record 8-5. Also a Super Bowl champion. I can see why he has his job for so long. Sean McDermott, record 97-49. Playoff record 7-7. Been to a couple AFC championship games. Fell to the hand of Patrick Mahomes. That's honestly why Sean McDermott doesn't have a Super Bowl appearance on his jacket. Patrick Mahomes. It's pretty clear. Because the one year they even changed the rules. Because the one year they was able to go to the Super Bowl by beating Josh Allen just because they went to overtime and Patrick Mahomes scored and Josh Allen didn't get a chance to get the ball. So they changed the rule behind that. So respectfully, the reason McDermott ain't got no Super Bowl appearance on his jacket is because of Patrick Mahomes. But his record being 97-49, his playoff record being 7-7, I can see why he has his job for so long. Andy Reid, I think this goes without being said. 148 wins. I didn't even bother to look up his losses because he has 148 wins, so I don't really care how many losses he has. He also has 3 Super Bowls. So again, I don't care how many losses he has. 148 wins, 3 Super Bowls. We don't need to talk about you and why you got your job. John Harbaugh, record 179 and 112. Playoff record 13-11. He also has a Super Bowl. I can see why you have your job for so long. Man, there's a lot of Super Bowls here and Super Bowl appearances. And last but not least, the number one longest tenured head coach, of course, Mike Tomlin. You have the stat that is the 20 years of 500 or better, and then his overall record 192 and 113 and 2. Playoff record 8 and 11. He also has a Super Bowl to his jacket. I can see why you have your job for so long. So let's go through the coaches really quickly who have their jobs longer than Kevin Stefanski. Out of the 8 coaches that have had their jobs longer than Kevin Stefanski, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So out of the 8 coaches other than Stefanski, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So out of the 8 coaches, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, I wanted to make sure I'm right. 6 of them have either won a Super Bowl or have led their team to a Super Bowl appearance. I'm going to say that again. Out of the 8 coaches that have had their jobs longer than Kevin, 6 of them have either won a Super Bowl or have a Super Bowl appearance. Not only that, out of those 8 coaches, only one of them, only one, has a losing record. That would be Zach Taylor. However, if I'm arguing for Zach Taylor, which I don't think he's the greatest coach, I just think he's better than Stefanski. So to argue for him, even with his losing record, he still has a higher winning percentage than Kevin Stefanski, and his postseason record is 5-2. He also has a Super Bowl appearance on his jacket. So again, if we're talking about the Cleveland Browns, they love to bring up Kevin Stefanski, 2-time coach of the year, because those are the only arguments that you can use for Stefanski is 2-time coach of the year, led the team to the playoffs for the first time since '99, and he did it with 5 different quarterbacks. Those are the only arguments that you have for him being a good head coach. But here's my thing. I would even think, so like as a fan base, and I would even think as a player as well, if I had a choice of my coach winning 2 Coach of the Year awards or having a Super Bowl appearance, well, I would trade them 2 coaches. You can have them Coach of the Year award. I don't want that. Give me the Super Bowl appearance. I'll take that over the two-time head coach of the year. I'll take the Super Bowl appearance over that. I'm sorry. That's the Super Bowl. Like, because if I win this jump, first of all, when you make it to the Super Bowl, you forever, especially if you're the Browns. Goodness gracious. If you was the Browns and made the Super Bowl, you wouldn't even have to win. You wouldn't even have to win. Like, if you're the head coach of the Browns and you just make the Super Bowl, they're going to build a statue for you out front. You and whatever quarterback it is. Y'all going to it's going to be a statue of y'all talking to each other. You don't even got to win. Just take them to the Super Bowl and you finna get a statue. It is what it is. So, I would rather have the Super Bowl appearance even without winning. I'd rather have that than, I got 2 head coach of the year awards. Yeah. Okay. What do you do? Alrighty. Like, I don't understand. It's probably some coaches that won Super Bowls ain't never won head coach of the year. And I don't think they care about it. You know what I'm saying? You don't get a ring for head coach of the year. I don't, like, last I checked, you don't get a Super Bowl ring for winning head coach of the year. And just because I gave the numbers, here are Stefanski's numbers. His record is 43-56. Worse winning percentage than Zach Taylor. His playoff record is 1-2, so he has a losing playoff record. He's a losing playoff record, and the one win, he actually wasn't on the field coaching. He was at home with COVID. That was Alex Van Pelt calling the plays and all that other stuff. You know what I'm saying? So the one win that we do have, like he wasn't actually there for that. They love to say he was at home in his basement, but we know he wasn't there at the game though. Like he wasn't at the game coaching. You know what I'm saying? So we do know that. And so you got 43-56. Your playoff record is 1-2. You have a 6-26 stretch of football. So even with your losing record, 43-56, You have a stretch of only winning 6 games out of 32. You got a stretch of winning 6 games out of 32. That's almost comparable to 1-31. You won 5 more games. Whoop-de-doo. Hugh Jackson didn't have any talent. Literally didn't have any talent. Like none whatsoever. None. I was playing wide receiver for the Browns at that time because there wasn't no talent. So that was like, we just at least need somebody that could catch. I'm like, all right, sign me up. Played 2 weeks and then, I couldn't hold up anymore. So you got a 6-26 stretch of football in your losing record of 43-56. In 6 years as the coach, 4 of them have been losing seasons. So out of 6 seasons, 4 of them have been losing seasons. So in the 6 seasons that you've been the head coach, 4 of them you've been a loser. So again, it's like, all right, you got the 2-time coach of the year. All right, the 2 years that you had a winning season, all right, you're the coach of the year. All right, but the rest of the time that you've been here, you've been a loser. And finally, back-to-back seasons where, and then luckily you picked up a game against Pittsburgh. And I think Pittsburgh kind of bit themselves in the foot by like game planning to not let Myles Garrett get the sack. And I think that helped contribute to Pittsburgh losing the game because they were so worried about not letting Myles Garrett get the sack. Like, I don't know about now. But back-to-back at this time, it was back-to-back 3-win seasons. Now it's last year you had a 3-win season. This year you're sitting at 4 and you can't get any more than 5. In back-to-back seasons? So this is my thing. His resume, first of all, not only is his resume so freaking far away from all of these guys that he's by, all these people that he's with, these other coaches that have had their jobs for these long tenures for 6, 7, 8, all the way up to 20 years. All these other coaches that's in the same boat as you as far as continuity and longevity, well, all of them except for one, they got winning records. And then the one who don't got a winning record, well, it's postseason, he got a winning record and he got a Super Bowl appearance. And then 6 out of the 8 coaches, again, that you around, 6 of them, they either won a Super Bowl or been to a Super Bowl. So this is my thing. You don't stack up to everybody else that you around. You don't stack up to them. I could take a guy like DeMeco Ryans, who been coaching for 2, maybe this is his 3rd year, I think. Been in the playoffs every year. Beat you when you was the head coach of the year. Beat you with a rookie C.J. Stroud. Boat raced you out of the building, Mr. Coach of the Year. So if you asking me if I'm DeMeco Ryans, I'm like, you had that Coach of the Year, bruh. Because when we met up in the playoffs, I smashed you. Coach of the Year, I smashed you. You trash. I smashed you. How you the Coach of the Year and I smashed you with a rookie? Where was all your scheming up? Where was all this magic? Where was all this Flacco magic that you was doing? What happened when you came up against me and a rookie quarterback? What happened then? Oh, you got boat raced. Flacco out there throwing pick sixes. Because again, like I say, it's something about your offense, Stefanski, that generates turnovers and interceptions, no matter who's at quarterback. Because see, people forget that Flacco was throwing interception after interception after interception on that little 5-game run that we had. We was winning the games, but he was throwing them interceptions, and we was barely winning the games. It wasn't like we was blowing nobody out. Like, we was barely winning them games. And it was, a lot of it was because the kicker wasn't missing no field goals. Like, I think he was perfect from 50 yards or more. He was perfect on the year. You know what I'm saying? And I think he only missed 1 field goal the entire year. Best year almost ever by a kicker with Dustin Hopkins that year. So it was a lot that went right for you to be able to make the playoffs that year, bro. And it showed in game 1 when you got boat raced by a rookie head coach and a rookie quarterback. Make it make sense. So again, just by the numbers, the most important numbers as a head coach, which is going to be win-loss record, playoff win-loss record, and are you getting us to the Super Bowl? That's what should matter as a head coach. Like that should be the number one parts of your resume. Well, I shouldn't just be looking at your resume like, well, I mean, he ain't got no winning record and nothing. He got 4 losing seasons in 6 years, and he got a 6-26 stretch. But golly, he's got those 2 head coach of the year awards. Like, what? That trumps all this other stuff. Them 2 head coach of the year awards. Would you look at that? Stop it. Like, I'm sorry. I can't deal with it. Now, let's get to the next step. This was one where I said it might, interact between the two, and I'll touch more on it in part 2. But he gives up the play calling in back-to-back seasons. After, when you started, you had the worst offense in the NFL, period. So you start calling the plays, then once it's the worst offense in the NFL for like the first 7 games or so, now you want to give up the play calling to somebody else. That doesn't make any sense, because last year when you gave up the play calling to Ken Dorsey, and again, Jameis Winston and Ken Dorsey was working with each other, whatever, what have you. Winston was throwing picks, and eventually, essentially you didn't end up winning enough games, if you will, or doing enough. When you gave the headset or the playbook to Ken Dorsey, so he was used as the scapegoat. The reason that the offense looked so terrible last year was because Ken Dorsey, and because we're trying to change the offense with Deshaun Watson and all these other excuses. So we was told, well, if we just get rid of Ken Dorsey and go back to the Stefanski system and the zone blocking schemes and the play action under center, that's going to fix our offense, and our offense is guaranteed to look better. Coming to this year, the offense looks even worse than it did last year when you tried to tweak it. The offense looks even worse, and we went back to your system. And it looks even worse than it did when we tweaked it to try to fit a quarterback, which is what you should do anyway. But it looked worse than that. Not only that, the guy that you scapegoated as to why it looked so bad, Ken Dorsey, well, he went over to the Dallas Cowboys and got a job as the passing game coordinator. He's in charge of the passing game over there on offense. He's in charge of the passing game. Guess who got the number 1 passing game in the NFL? Guess who's the number 1 passing team in the NFL? The Dallas Cowboys. So the same guy that we scapegoated saying that while our offense was so trash, it just so happens that the very next year he goes over to the Dallas Cowboys, get a job with them as the passing game coordinator, and what do you know? They got the number 1 passing attack in the entire NFL. That's who we scapegoated. The guy who went over there to be the passing game coordinator and then leads them to the number 1 passing attack in the NFL. And respectfully, they got Dak Prescott at quarterback. It's not like they got Patrick Mahomes. They don't have Justin Herbert. They don't have Josh Allen. They don't have that. Yeah, they don't have that. They got Dak Prescott. And I ain't hating. Dak is nice. But if you asking around, majority of the time, people not finna put Dak Prescott in the type, like if you ask who top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL, they're not finna put Dak Prescott in there. I'm sorry. They just not, most people is not going to do that. They're not. A lot of times you're going to have to get that from a Cowboy fan. But majority of the people, they probably not finna put Dak Prescott in the top 5. Yet Ken Dorsey go over there, work with him, number 1 passer in the league. Now, Kevin's offense in general, this is the thing. Kevin's offense has never been, quote unquote, good. The best it's ever been is mid. That's the best it's ever been, the middle of the pack. Here are the numbers to support that. In 2020, possibly the best year that he had here, right? 2020 was a great year. You know what I'm saying? You wouldn't turn the ball over. You know what I'm saying? Down a little bit. Well, no, you still had a lot of penalties. But you weren't turning the ball over. You know what I'm saying? Winning games. You know what I'm saying? You look good in 2020, right? Well, here's what the offense was doing. Here's where the offense ranked. 16th in yards per game. 24th in passing yards per game. And 14th in points per game. So 16th in total yards per game, which is exactly in the middle. That's mid. 24th in passing yards. That's below mid as far as your passing game goes, Stefanski. So even when we thought you was cooking it up with the passing game in 2020, you was rated 24th in the pass game. You 24th in passing yards per game. So it wasn't like you was just dialing it up, like we just dropping bombs all over the field. Now 24th in passing yards per game. And then 14th in total points per game, which again is right around the middle. You 2 spots away from exactly in the middle. Next year, 2021, You 18th in total yards per game. 18th, that's mid. You're 27th in passing yards. Okay, so now you're at the bottom. 27th in passing yards per game. And then 20th in points per game. So again, you're not even mid right there. You below mid. Let's go to 2022. You're 22nd in passing yards per game, below mid. You're 14th in total yards per game, right at mid. And you're 18th in points per game, right at mid. Right at mid. Let's go to 2023, the magical year. Let's go to that. Numbers got to be better, right? It's the magical year. Flacco was dotting it up. 16th in yards per game. Mid, right in the middle. 19th in passing yards per game. So you're still below mid in the passing game. The only one that was a little bit better, you was 10th in points per game. Okay, in 2023, you was 10th in points per game. All right? So, but apparently it wasn't due to too much, as far as like with the passing game. 2024, let's go to that. 28th in yards per game. 22nd in passing yards per game. And dead last in points per game, averaging 15.2. Alrighty, let's go to 25 now. 2025, where we were currently, and again, this was before the Pittsburgh Steelers game. You were 30th in total yards per game, and 31st in points per game at 16.4. I didn't have the passing yards per game written down in this one, but I can assure you that we don't rank any higher than mid in passing yards per game. So again, this idea that his offense has been just this juggernaut of an offense in years 2020 and 2023 when he won the Head Coach of the Year award, the offense was still mid. The offense was mid. It was mid. What was happening was you was really getting great defensive play, and your kickers was great. Like you had a year where you had a great kicker. So, we need to put that to bed. That offense that he runs, it's never been in the upper echelon of offenses in the league. At its best, it's been right at the middle of the pack at its best. And in the passing has always been below average. Always. The passing game has always been below average. And in the previous 2 years, you've led the league in interceptions. And we've gone through a bunch of different quarterbacks. So it ain't a specific quarterback that I could point to that's the culprit for this. It's been a bunch of different quarterbacks, and we get the same result every time. We've gone through a bunch of different offensive coordinators. Same result every time. So if you're asking me, the common denominator is Captain Kevin Stefanski. Can't wait to do part 2, where I go through more of the personal reasons, personal and the relations as to why Kevin's not a good head coach. But I think we got a lot of stats to work on as of right now. Dogs on the couch, signing off.